Hey everyone, really exciting topic today. One of my favorites as a 30-year telecom veteran, the future of programmability and open standards and AI in the telecom network. David, how are you?
I'm doing well, and thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. I've been following your success and trajectory from some time, so it's really great to chat. Um, Telnyx is a company that's been on a mission to bring programmability and AI and all kinds of advanced technologies into what has been a pretty closed environment for many decades. Maybe introduce yourself and the mission behind the team.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm David Cates. I'm co-founder and CEO of Telnyx. Been doing this for quite some time. Telnyx operates as an internationally licensed telco, and we've provided communication solutions to tens of thousands of customers for over a decade. We operate primarily in the CPaaS space, so often referred to as the communications platform as a service space. Though we like to think of ourselves more as a connectivity platform rather than just a communications platform. And this is thanks to the robust global network that we built, as well as starting to venture out into some additional services for example, the licensed spectrum space. So providing IoT connectivity, which will ultimately lead us to providing fixed mobile convergence. Today, we're best known for our global SIP trunking and messaging solutions, but we've been doubling down on programmable voice with our TC, and as I mentioned before, wireless. And obviously, we've launched a couple of AI-related products, which is why we're here, and look forward to talking to you more about them.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there, a lot of innovation, a lot of trends you're riding on top of, like mobility and CPaaS and the opening up of the network to developers, which has really gathered steam in the last few years. To maybe dive into the AI space, it's top of mind on everyone's mind in tech these days. What on earth does AI have to do with telecom and cloud communications?
Yeah, I think a lot. Increasingly, I think what we've seen is the shift from what folks are referring to as sort of prompt engineering to increasingly voice engineering. And I think we're pretty well positioned to help solve for a number of those voice engineering challenges. And maybe I can tell you why we sort of developed the products that we did and how it's different than what a number of our competitors have done. So over the course of the last few years, we've seen a lot of folks ultimately try to mimic Twilio's business and move into the CPaaS category with mixed success. But ultimately, if you look at sort of the landscape today, there's a lot of overlap in terms of product capabilities. And so as we were thinking about the next phase for Telnyx and where we were going to take the company, we wanted to do something a little bit different than what others were doing. Well, what we sort of saw from others is this notion of ultimately moving up stack and fulfilling additional sort of needs that encapsulated the entire customer experience. And for us, we thought that was probably not the right move because we're not really in the business of competing with our customers, and a number of our customers have developed applications in that sort of set of products that has emerged. And so I think it became pretty clear with time that AI was going to become an increasingly important part of the real-time communication stack. And our thinking was, okay, what are the things that we can do to help our customers be more successful as they try to incorporate AI into their businesses, their workflows, and their applications. And so the thinking was latency is important. It's been sort of a cornerstone of how we've gone about sort of approaching the real-time communications problems overall, right? I mean, you just can't beat physics. Physics is real, and light only travels so fast. And so as we thought about solving for this latency issue, we thought it would make sense to sort of make it I guess the best way of describing it is like flattening the stack, so to speak. And so as an example, because we offer some of these primitives, like for example, cloud storage, you can now take relevant data, put it into a bucket, have that bucket embedded against the usage of an LLM to provide a contextualized LLM experience. And we provide access to the latest and greatest open source and proprietary models out there. And the idea was that using a combination of the storage service, our inference service, that folks would be able to easily build bots and other AI-driven applications that could be used alongside our programmable communication APIs to be able to facilitate customer conversations.
Wow, that's super exciting. Lots of opportunities there with customers. So let's talk about customers. What are they looking to do right now with Gen AI with you? What are they asking for maybe today? And what are some of the future applications they're envisioning leveraging your
Yeah.
platform and APIs?
Yeah. So today, I mean, I think it's sort of a crawl, walk, run approach that folks are taking. And so today, leveraging our programmable communications APIs alongside inference, you can facilitate relatively complex conversations using business documentation. So, for example, if you were to build a customer support bot, so take all of your customer support documentation that you would train a new person on, and effectively load it into a bucket, and then take that bucket, embed, hit Llama 7 billion, or hit OpenAI if that's your preference, and ultimately answer questions that customers may have. So think of it as sort of the first line support sort of task can be tackled today. And with time, I think you'll see JSON mode, function calling, some of these other feature sets to facilitate RAG, right? And allow bots to do more than just sort of answer questions and construct sentences that may answer an inquiry. Instead, actually be able to do a lookup, an API call, make a modification, change a plan. Any of those things that would typically be done out of a GUI, which, in turn would hit an API, you can just now have a bot hit that API directly.
Fantastic. Let's talk about, you mentioned their library, the model library. How do your customers leverage that? You have multiple proprietary and open source models in your LLM library. What does that look like exactly?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're big believers that there's been a lot of writing about this, and it's going to be increasingly difficult for folks to be able to compete with the open source community with respect to the development of models. And so, we've essentially uploaded a bunch that are commonly used. So you can think of, obviously Llama has been doing really well. Llama 3 is incredible. If you haven't been able to kick the tires on it, I certainly encourage you to do that. Mistral has been another one that we've been using, DeepSeek, and so forth. So if it's doing well in Hugging Face, it's likely that we've loaded that model onto our GPUs, and you can give them a shot and use them alongside the APIs that you've come to know and love.
Fantastic. What a great opportunity for developers. How do they get started? Like you mentioned, crawl, walk, run. How do you, how do you crawl with AI, get started, and how do you support customers in that early journey?
Yeah, I mean, everything that we built at Telnyx has been designed to be consumed in a self-service manner. So it's as simple as going to telnyx.com, hitting the sign up button, putting in an email address and some additional info there, and getting an account going. and and from there, it should be relatively intuitive. If for whatever reason not, there's plenty of support documentation. We also have developer documentation that has been updated at developers.telnyx.com. So we encourage people to read that. And then the other thing that we pride ourselves on is providing unparalleled support experience. So we're around 24/7, whether it be on chat, on Slack, or by phone to help support customers who are just getting started with any of our APIs.
Great stuff. So you talked earlier about how current connectivity networks are kind of a limiting factor for real-time AI. Maybe talk about the challenges of that with latency and messaging and footprint and broadband. I mean, as a connectivity provider partner, how do you overcome those sort of challenges with real-time cloud communications?
Yeah, look, I think you've seen a number of new market entrants in the space, right? I mean, a lot of folks are going out there combining a CPaaS solution with the OpenAI APIs and building pretty realistic sounding bots. But nevertheless, there's always that element of latency that's there. And that's, again, as I sort of mentioned earlier, simply a physics problem. So if you're going out, I mean, you sort of think through the workflow here. If you're having a bot have a conversation with somebody over a call, you need to be able to take what that person is saying, that conversation, and transcribe it to text. So you have a speech to text function that has to happen. After that, you need to, in turn, submit that processed text to an inference engine, right, to be able to generate a completion or a response. And then that response, in turn, has to be converted back to speech to a user. And so you can imagine that if you're hitting a number of disparate APIs that are also not geographically co-located, and you're oftentimes serializing those operations, that you're going to introduce some form of latency. And so the idea here is, how do we overcome this sort of uncanny valley of silence problem that has emerged in the voice AI space? And as I sort of spoke to earlier, our thinking was the simplest way to do it is to have everything sort of be in the same place, right? And to parallelize those operations as much as possible. And in turn, by doing that, you're able to sort of significantly reduce, if not entirely eliminate, a lot of the latency associated with those various API calls.
Fantastic. And I'm looking through your Twitter feed. You have just amazing examples of technologies you built in to your platform: noise suppression, wideband codecs, echo cancellation. So many opportunities.
Those are super important too, right? I mean, I think one of the things that we've been able to overcome, and it's been a challenge in the industry for some time, is despite the fact that most handsets are HD capable, inter-carrier operability has typically been limited to the good old-fashioned G711 ULAW or ALAW codecs, right, which are comparable to sort of a standard old-school POTS line phone connection. And so one of the things that we sort of have taken on is, hey, if we're going to make these bots truly understand what a human is saying, we need to give them the highest quality sound to make that possible. And so through the use of HD voice codecs, so in our case, we'll take the AMR wideband that we're getting from a mobile operator and actually transcode that to a open source codec that's not licensed, like Opus or G729. Not 729, G722. Sorry, 729 is it's not a lossless codec. And with that, give them the sort of ability to have a more enriched sort of audio flow coming from the far end, and therefore improve the bots, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, ability to understand what the user is trying to accomplish.
Fantastic. And clearly your users are recognizing your advanced technology. I see you were named a leader on G2 for VoIP and CPaaS. Congratulations for that. What do you
Thank you.
think's been your differentiator there? There are some very big, very legacy players out there have been doing this a lot longer than you. What's been your success sort of factors here with customers?
I think really we're very focused on controlling the customer experience, for lack of a better way of putting it. Again, and really the only way that you can do that is by controlling as much of the stack as possible. And so by putting ourselves in a position where we have full visibility into what's happening, from bare metal to browser, we're able to fix things. Inevitably, things go wrong. And we're able to sort of fix things without having to rely on a third party, right? And so a lot of our competitors out there claim to have a super network, for example, which isn't a network at all. And so a lot of times when customers have issues, there's a swivel chair operation involved in resolving them. And so we don't suffer from that same sort of lack of control or visibility into the underlying infrastructure that's needed to provide the service. And then obviously the second thing is sort of obsession with making customers happy. So we've always had 24/7 support. We've always offered free support to our customers, and the idea is that we take our customers' problems on as if they were our own, and we help solve for them. And luckily that makes customers happy, keeps customers happy, and allows them to focus on building their businesses.
Wow, sounds so simple. Yeah, great sentiment, though. It's not easily done, easy said. And I see you have so many different use cases from, contact center we talked about through to here's one, Best Canada Energy, enhancing real-time control monitoring of energy systems with your IoT SIMs. That's a pretty diverse set of, customers and applications, use cases. Care to talk about any of those in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, sort of this you're hitting on a point that I tried to make a little bit earlier in terms of seeing ourselves as a connectivity platform rather than just a communications platform. And so I think a good sort of analog is like just think about how phone companies developed over the course of the last century, or even more than a century now, and we've just been able to do that substantially less time. And so the idea is anything that you would get from an incumbent telco, we want to be able to provide it in a way that's easier to consume and easier to ultimately program. So that I think that's sort of spans a number of use cases that are out there. Again, including everything from connectivity. I mean, from a connectivity standpoint, we support sort of energy monitoring solutions, sensors, smartwatches is a big one as of late, and we combine that oftentimes with our voice capability to facilitate phone calls over devices. We see a lot of folks using us in point of sale payment systems and the like. And you can imagine that the same infrastructure that we're using today to support LLMs or generative AI, that same infrastructure can be used for a variety of other machine learning use cases. And so, we've been spending a lot of time today talking about sort of voice bots, but you can imagine if you had a SIM deployed, that SIM deployed and needed to report back data, that data can in turn be processed on a GPU at a place that is relatively local to a SIM. So, that, for example, touches on like the breakout capability that we've been working on. oftentimes people like travel to Europe and they don't realize that when they hit the browser on their phone, when they're sitting in Europe, they're actually taking those packets all the way back to Kansas City or New York or California. And so because we're so deep in the stack, we can sort of optimize around making that stuff take different paths and paths that are more efficient, again, from a latency perspective, and closer to not only our infrastructure, but other cloud infrastructure providers.
Fantastic. I see you're also working with Microsoft in areas like direct routing for Microsoft Teams. That's a super hot area at the moment and growing given Microsoft footprint. Maybe talk about those partnerships that you have with people
Yeah,
like
I think
Microsoft or others.
We've been thinking about, okay, how do we? A lot of our go-to-market sort of been this embedded go-to-market approach, where customers have a CCaaS solution or a UCaaS solution, or have some sort of industry-specific application that they're building that needs a voice or messaging component or sort of a connectivity component. But what we found is that the enterprise is often pretty comfortable using Teams, Cisco WebEx calling, Zoom, and the like. And so we've been focusing a good amount of energy on ensuring turnkey compatibility with our platform. So the idea is that, for example, on direct routing, we already offer it globally today, but in the next few weeks, you'll see that we will be releasing Microsoft Teams compatibility. That's Microsoft Teams. That's what it's called. So we're going to be releasing global operator connectivity, meaning that you'll be able to go into your Microsoft Teams platform, select Telnyx as a carrier, and order phone numbers in 30 plus countries. And so one could imagine that you can take that service and then combine it with, for example, our text and our programmable voice and build IVRs and route calls back down into the Teams application, and then even further extend it out with fixed mobile convergence and route calls to a mobile device. So a lot of pieces are sort of coming together, and will give folks ultimately even more control of communications.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a customer these days. So many opportunities to leverage your technologies. Maybe you're in Amsterdam at the moment at your offices, I understand. You have offices in London, obviously based in Austin. Talk about the team and where you guys are and give us a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, so we have offices in Denver, in Dublin, and in Amsterdam currently. We're contemplating opening an office in the Asia Pacific region, so still debating where exactly we'll put that. The team is global, more folks outside of the United States than in the United States, growing pretty quickly, very engineering heavy, and obviously very real-time communications heavy. So very excited by the progress that we've been able to make as a team and the solutions that we've been able to deliver to our customers.
Fantastic. So beyond your visit to the Amsterdam office, what are you looking forward to over the next few weeks? Any meetings or events or otherwise?
No, I think the big push is getting us operator connects out the door. Hopefully we'll have some fanfare around that in the coming weeks. And then just keeping our head down, working on the business, and delivering new features to customers.
Fantastic. Well, it always sounds so straightforward, but there's so much complexity behind the scenes. I can only imagine. But thanks so much for sharing a bit of the vision and the mission. And I learned quite a bit. You guys are really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in communications services these days. Thanks, David. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, it's only the beginning. Thank you for having me.
Exciting times ahead. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. Take care.